Welcome to the latest edition of the Hudson County Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Jim Haig, and don't forget that the Hudson County Sports Podcast is brought to you by the special people down at Stan Sports Center, located at 528 Washington Street in Hoboken. Telephone number there is 201-798-4466. And with me today is a very special guest who's had a long, storied career in athletics, more importantly in football. He started out as an assistant football coach, then became the head football coach at Hudson Catholic, left there and became the extremely successful head coach at St. Peter's College, which still I don't know how he was able to win all the games that he did, but he won game after game after game at St. Peter's. And then he left there to go back to become the AD and football coach at Hudson Catholic, had more success there. And now for the last 15 years, he's been the assistant coach and offensive coordinator at St. Joseph of Montvale in Bergen County. And it is my friend, and I use that term loosely, my friend Rob Stern. Rob, how you doing today, buddy?
Hey, Jim, great to be on here with you.
We're glad to have you. Yeah, no, it's tough to have that kind of a resume without mentioning everything. So, all right, let's turn the clock back a little bit and turn the clock back to your childhood days. And you said that you were born in Jersey City. And that's something I never knew. Go ahead. So you were born in Jersey City, and then where'd you go from there?
Born in Jersey City. Grew up in North Bergen until I was, let's say about 12, 10, about 10 in North Bergen. And like I told you before, had the pleasure of sharing the same house with the legendary North Bergen linebacker Mark D'Onofrio. And you just imagine how much trouble we got into in that household.
I can't even imagine. So, and
all Mr. D'Onofrio used to have to say back old school was, "Wait till your father gets home."
That's it. It sounds like a song. That's like a song and a half. Now, and explain to people, you really didn't have a father. Your father was not around. You grew up.
My father was in my life. My parents were just split up, but my father was always there. Spent every weekend, with him growing up. And
all right, but your father, mom, and dad split up when you were real young.
Yeah, when I was younger. Yeah.
Okay.
They must have known.
That what was going to happen. Okay.
Actually, as life turned out, both are remarried. I have great family, stepbrothers and stuff. So it turned into a big happy household. So it couldn't have worked out better for everybody.
Okay. And then, so then when you were growing up in North Bergen a little bit, were you a product of the famed Pop Water football program? Did you get to play with the Red Raiders and the Vikings and all those teams?
Played for the Vikings, little purple people eaters.
Okay. And was that your first introduction to football?
Yes.
Okay. All right. And did you play any other sports back then growing up, like even in the streets?
Baseball, basketball, same, anything we could get ourselves into. Back then it was different, obviously. You were playing the sports of the moment.
Okay. And what street did you grow up in North Bergen?
86th Street.
86th Street. So you were all the way up there. Okay.
Yeah, across from Tunley Avenue from the APA over there.
All right. All right. So you didn't get into trouble you didn't try to play in traffic on Tunley Avenue. That would have been the end of you.
No, but we lost a few stickball games in the street. We lost a few balls down that way.
Not worth chasing after. That's for damn sure.
No.
So no. All right. So you stayed in North Bergen. So you said you were about 12.
Yeah, my mom got remarried. We moved out to Paramus and went to middle school out in late grammar school and middle school in Paramus.
All right. How disappointed were you that you had to move with your family, considering you were already established friends and stuff in North Bergen?
Yeah, it was tough. It was a good change. I mean, I was excited. My mom got remarried. And, got a couple of stepbrothers out of the deal, and it was a good change. It was a good change, and coming from a smaller apartment to a big house. So as a kid, you're like, wow, it's like moving out. Coming from North Bergen was like moving out to the country.
That's true. It was like the fresh air fun. Yeah. All right. So then, go ahead. What were you saying?
I got lucky. We moved on a block with a lot of kids my age. So things transition happened easy.
Okay. And then did you play a lot of sports back then in Paramus? Did you play like recreation?
Like rec ball, played baseball, a lot of baseball. Rec basketball, all that stuff. So got involved.
Okay. All right. Did you know at an early age that that's what you wanted to do? That you wanted to be involved in sports some way, somehow?
Yeah. Listen, I always enjoyed sports. I always enjoyed the camaraderie of team factor and being around people. And, it's just at that time it was a different era. You got off the school bus. At 3 o'clock, and if it was the fall, you said, "Hey, we'll see you 5 minutes in the park." You played till your mother called and said, "Hey, I'm going home and I got to be eating to eat." And you played until the sun went down. It's just a different. And then if it was the spring, hey, we're going to throw the baseball around. Who had a basketball hoop, we're going to shoot. So it was always guys, playing until you couldn't play. Or somebody was in trouble, didn't do their homework, and couldn't play today. But like that, I look back at my own kids now. Kids, they look at you like, "What do you mean? Like you just called your friend and played catch?"
Yeah.
And I think that's missing in today, where so many kids are specialized and in one thing, and it's just you compete. Whether you were playing, and like anything else. Johnny might have been great at stickball, but he couldn't catch a pass. Playing Catholic football.
Right.
So I think it was just a great. A lost art, as you could say right now. Kids look at you like, "What do you mean you just play catch?" Like, no. Now you got to go like to a place and rent the place and pay money and I think find the wall.
Yeah.
Find the wall, throw a ball against the wall. Wall ball.
Crazy.
That's a big thing.
Okay. All right. So then you went to middle school in Paramus. And what was it about high school then? Where did you decide that you wanted to go to, or did your mother make that decision for you?
Yeah, a little different era. I had a choice of schools. It was going to be, either Bergen, Bosco, or I think I might have third choice, Hudson Catholic or something. So it was, like I laugh, and I tell people, most kids are going, their bloodlines.
Yep.
They're told. I fought it at first, like, "Hey, I'm going to go to school with old boys. This is terrible." And, but that was the choice. I guess I was, looking back, I should have felt, back then the entrance test was like really important,
Okay.
It was a different era, and probably should have just failed the test. But I actually, as funny as it sounds, Coach Carson was the head coach of Bergen at the time. And, wanted to go to Bergen. And I didn't get in.
Oh wow! Okay.
Yeah, I didn't get in. It's funny how life goes on. It turns out that the first I go to work at Bergen, my first football job, and then the second year I go to work at St. Joe's for Dominic.
Okay.
So it's kind of weird how things play out and go. So off to Bosco I went. Had a great. Had a great 4 years.
And who was the head coach at Bosco then? Was it Jackie Moore?
Kevin Carty was there.
Kevin Carty was there. Okay.
A couple of changeovers, But,
and who else was there? You said Kevin Carty. Who else?
Kevin Carty, Mike Zidanic.
Okay.
Took over. But just good guys, good place, great friends, and great great stuff. Great 4 years.
And that was before Bosco was Bosco, right?
Yeah. Listen to your parents. And I laugh so much when I hear now people say like, "Well, we're gonna let him or her make the decision," and it's like, hey, well, like the kid's 13, 14. It's best. It's best for him. So looking back, can't thank my mom enough for at that time it sounded like a lot of money. I think tuition was like $4,500. She laughs now, and I tell her the school's like $15,000, $17,000. And it's crazy, but working hard, making a ride, and always picking me up and dropping me off, and what goes with those things, and going to non-public schools. One of my best friends lived in Montvale, another guy lived in North Hale, another guy, so you're constantly jockeying, to go out and meet with your friends, and needing your parents to kind of get you around. There was no Uber.
No Ubers back then, yeah, no, and certainly no public transportation,
Yeah, mom and dad was Uber. I was for the first couple of years I had to take, bus. The real bus, the short line, and the short line bus would walk down by the fireplace in Paramus and get on the short line bus, take it up 17, get off, and then walk up to school. So it was definitely different. I look at my own kids now. When I tell them like I have to go walk to a bus, get on a regular public bus, not a school bus.
Right.
You catch the short one. But luckily it only lasted a couple of years, and then a couple of guys got cars early, and was able to catch some rides.
Well, you were able to get a driver's license by the time you were junior, because your junior year were the 3 toughest years of your life, right? So. Yeah. Bad joke.
So it was hard, but it was great experience, and it gave me the opportunity to meet a lot of people. People I'm still obviously close with.
Okay.
Today.
All right. So, obviously you played football at Bosco, and what was that like back then?
Yeah, I was no star. I guess that made me a better coach.
Like it made you a better coach because you listened to everybody else, probably, right?
Yeah. You paid attention a lot more.
Okay. All right. And then when it came time to go to college, what was the first choice, and how did that end up?
Well, it ended up fun for a year. I can tell my kids I went up to the University of Hartford, had a great year, and came home, and mom and dad looked at my report card and said, "That's great, but we're not spending this money for you to not do as well. So maybe you want to stay home for a year." So that kind of is a kind of crossroad where it kind of started my coaching career. Weirdly.
Okay.
In a bad sense of like, hey, I didn't go back. So I came back home, I got the reality check, and there I was. I went to Bergen Community College, and my father said, hey, we ain't spending any more money until figure it out. So I figured it out, and went to Bergen Community, got my grades back up. At that time, I wanted to coach. I knew I wanted to.
You knew that already at that point. Okay.
Well, I had done some service projects at Bosco. You got to do the service hours and stuff with Catholic schools.
Right.
So I coached rec basketball, coached softball in Paramus.
Oh, so that's where that started.
That's softball. The other side of me, started there. I was, Jack Weaver was the head coach of Paramus at the time, and I did a lot of work with the recreation people. Like I was working, getting paid a little bit, but then I did like an internship, and I was always keeping score at basketball games and doing the clock. And then they needed somebody to coach one of the younger kids. I came in, I said, hey, I got some service hours. So the girl who was working at the time, said, hey, you can coach this the 6th grade team. So I started coaching the team, and then one thing led to another. I coached that team, and then I coached another team, and then they came to me and said, hey, they're looking for help to coach, softball, baseball, so, it's the same thing. I was like, what do I know about coaching, girls and coaching softball.
Okay.
So I went down there and started coaching, met Jack Weaver, who was the head coach at Paramus at the time. We coached the young team. It turned into, hey, we're going to have a summer team. So why don't you stick around, and, we're going to have the town travel team, like, All-Stars, do this. Then I did, then I did that. So it kind of just snowballed.
Okay.
So now I was, quote unquote, coaching, and then I was like.
And did you get the fever right away? Did you love it right away? Did you know that was you?
Yeah, obviously I'm sure just we had success made it fun, and I was around some good people and people that, the parent group I remember back then was fun. It was fun. It didn't feel like work. I was like, hey, I'm getting my service hours, and then when I did the All-Star thing, the recreation was paying me. I was like, I'm getting paid to do this. Like,
Okay.
It's kind of fun. So I was helping out Paramus in the rec football, and one of the guys there, said, hey, they're looking for some coaches up at Bergen, and his sons were at Bergen Catholic.
Okay.
So I remember like it was yesterday. I was in the parking lot. I met Fred Stangl. He was building a platform for the weight room.
Okay.
Pounding nails, as he was doing in there. He said, we met, we talked for a little bit. He said, I'd love to have you on the freshman staff.
Really? Right away? Okay.
And I coached the freshman team with a great guy who's actually, I just saw him when we played a couple weeks ago, Mike Conway, who was the head coach at the time. Mike was a great man. I told him the other day, I said, you're like Dick Clark. You never even aged. Again, success. Coached a team that had Eric Lane, Jimmy Taylor.
Wow.
Mike Bajakian, who's the offensive coordinator now at Northwestern. Zeke Rogers. I mean, just guys that were just flat out. Might have been some of the best kids to play at Bergen. So
okay.
It was awesome.
And what years is this? Like 82, 83?
No, it was 89.
Oh, 89. Oh, okay.
That was 80, yeah. 88 or 89. Well, it was the 88 season. It was the 88 season.
Okay.
It was the 89, I was at the St. Joe's. So 88, we're there. Just coaching the freshman team. The freshman team went, I think, 8-1. The only loss we took to was Kennedy. I remember playing at Hitchcock Stadium. They had the Collins twins.
Oh God. Okay.
Curtis Bennings, and they were
loaded.
Great. It was a great high school, freshman game. And then I was there, and then.
All right. So good. Before you go any further, what was it like for you to get your first coaching job in high school, and you getting a chance to work with people like Fred Stengel? And I guess I don't know, was Hammer there too as well?
Yes, Hammerly was on the varsity staff.
Okay.
At the time, and Fred was awesome. I mean, listen, Fred Stengel is a tremendous person. He's a mastermind of football.
Yep.
Freddie actually not only that year helped me out, but down the road years later when he was at Bergen and I was in Hudson, we would always stay in touch. And I remember going up and talking football with him. And at that time, he was funny. He was like, "Hey, you're not gonna go tell Tony to go see this, are you?" I'm coaching at Hudson now. I gotta play Tony in non-public 3 right now.
Yeah.
I gotta beat Tony. That's why I'm here.
Yeah.
You do some great stuff. So, it's funny. And another guy I saw him the Monday after we played Bergen. Somebody related to his family's on the JV team. So a couple of the plays that he taught me years later, I said, Coach, you're here. We're gonna open up the team session right now with 2 plays for you. So I ran 2 of the plays, and he goes, Coach, still running. So he's just a tremendous football. One of those guys. Hanson, Toll, Stinson. Tony. Guys that. You're never gonna see guys like that again.
No.
30 years. It's
those are all 4 of those are lifers, and they don't come around any often.
The society and parents taking all out guys don't last that long.
And finances.
That's a whole nother podcast.
Right.
But they, so I was there.
So did you learn a lot from Freddie? I mean, did you just by watching him?
Listen, I was fortunate. Like I said, I coached the freshmen, but I would always stick around and go for the varsity, and watch what he was doing, and just how to get better. And again, like that's another problem with coaching today. Like everybody needs to be a varsity guy. Everybody needs to wear a headset and be a genius right away.
Right.
Learn along the way. So went from there, and then next year when
Did you know already at that point that you wanted to be a head coach someday?
You get the fever. I got the fever.
Okay.
Hey, listen, this is, but not until you know you can do it. But you're like, hey, like this is something I can do. And then wound up going up St. Joe's the next year and working with Tony.
Right.
And that was just that was the indoctrination of coaching. At that time, the staff was unreal. A guy by the name of Joe Lavercio was running the defense, and Tony's a defensive guy. Walt Stoley, offensive line coach. And just talk about guys that were. It was 10 types of head coaches in there. That could have been head guys if they were head guys.
Okay.
A lot of those guys.
And what did you do when you went from Bergen to St. Joe's?
At first, I went. I was coaching at back in those days, you actually coached both sides of the ball.
Okay.
So I was coaching the tight ends and I was coaching the linebackers, and really a little more involved with defense, with Joe. And then as time went on there, I started running the defense. I was a defense guy before I was an offensive guy. So I laugh at St. Joe's guys. Kids go, "Coach, you remember defense back in the day?" I'm like, "Yeah, I was on the." And probably then I got this from Tony, like, to be good on offense, you need to understand defense.
Yep.
And the better offensive minded coaches will tell you now, like, you got to understand why these guys are trying to do, what they're doing. So, worked with those guys, and back in the day I laugh now with guys that coach with us because they're modernized. Their wife's got to call them, and they got to leave practice, and they can't make meetings. Like back in the day, it was like we would meet on a Sunday night 7 o'clock, and Monday night after practice, and we'd be there till 1 o'clock in the morning.
Right.
And again, like there was the 16 millimeter camera.
Yep.
There was
no videotape. No.
It was the real.
Yeah.
I was the guy
No DVDs. Yeah.
Yeah. I was the guy who used to drive down to Patterson on Saturday night to get the film.
Okay.
The guy who used to do the film had a store in Patterson. You'd leave the bags outside with everybody's name on it to get the film. And, back then, like, that's all you had. First of all, you had a live scout.
Yep.
And that's no lost art in coaching. Like, you go to a game and sit there. And one guy was drawing, one guy was talking into a tape recorder because you're trying to get the sets because it wasn't like, hey, let's go home and go on huddle.
Yeah.
And there it is. So, it made you a better coach because you had to see, visualize, put stuff down. And then
you had to study. You had to do homework. That's the most important thing. You had to study.
And in between there, I was taking classes that now, education-wise, I was taking classes around the phone and, finishing up my degree. And then it was like, I was at night sleeping in the back office at St. Joe's because it was like, we get done at 1 o'clock in the morning. I was gassed.
Yeah.
Tony was, obviously a grinder, and, Walt owns the Dairy Queen down the block from St. Joe's.
Okay.
He'd clean out his money and his machines every night. He'd sleep till noon every day. And every day, by 10, 11 o'clock, he was still going. It was like, Coach, like everybody's been up all day. So,
yep.
And all he'd have to say to Tony was, Coach, can you just go back and watch that tape just one more time? If I saw something, So, learn how to grind and learn how to put the time in and the work, was there. So that took me for a while at St. Joe's, and then.
So you were on the sidelines in 1989 when Tony Guma led the 99-yard drive, right?
Let's reverse it back and play before because you should have went in on.
Oh, you should have went in. The game was over. The game was over. Telemark was going in. I was right there at that goal line, and he was going in.
Fumbled on the half inch line. It's funny because this year's game, and it's so weird because there's never a prep game that I'm involved in that doesn't eat at me, doesn't come up, doesn't bother me. You know what I'm saying? So we're playing this year, and it's 21-14, and we're dominating the game, but Prep, we don't get a first down. Prep gets the ball back, and all that's going through my mind now. The ball's going the other way, not the way it went in 89.
Okay.
All that's going through my mind is they're gonna make this 21-20, and he's going for 2.
He's going for 2.
And I'm saying to, and it's funny how Stan Sports sponsors this, Danny Decon.
Yep.
The prep grad.
Yep.
Runs our defense. Who's one of the bright minds in the game right now. And first of all, he's awesome dude.
He is. Danny D. Father and son are both great guys. Great guys.
Better people than those guys. But,
right.
Danny's a great coach, and I'm saying to him, I said, you better get a fucking 2-point defense ready. You better get a defense ready for the 2-point, because I'm telling you right now, Hanson's going to tell his son they're going for 2. I've seen this movie before. It's going now. Obviously we win the game. It doesn't go that way. But the funny part is we got a kid that plays for us right now, one of our best linebackers, Schmowski, whose father played on the 89 team. And the sophomore kid, Minelli, whose father was the tight end on the 89 team.
Oh, wow.
So, I'm telling these guys stories during the week, and the kids are going to be, Coach, like, you coach Schmowski's father?
Yeah.
Like, how old are you? Coach, you don't look too old. Like, I was a really young coach when I coached.
Yeah, you were 11. You started you were 11.
The game was over, and there's me and the fathers hugging each other, So my wife and Schmowski's wife, they're going, these guys, they can't get out. I said, you don't get it. You weren't there in 89. You know what I'm saying? Like, and to see the relief in these two fathers' faces that their kids beat Prep.
Yep.
and they had lost to him was amazing. Like, it was just a surreal moment of just, like they were so happy for their kids. And then Travis' grandfather I was told, like, he watched every game. He's never watched the end of that game.
Well,
to this day.
from my standpoint, that game is the only time in my 40 years of being a sports writer that I lost my journalistic ethic. Because when they scored the 2-point conversion, the kids are running down the hill and they're running onto the field, and I just ran over and screamed, "Get them off the field!" Because I thought like it was going to be like Oklahoma, Washington in the national championship game when the covered wagon came on the field and they took the touchdown down. I thought that's what was going to happen. Unsportsmanlike conduct against prep, and they were going to take the 2-point conversion down. So I was screaming. I was like, "No!" But no, that's not what happened. And yes,
it was great. So then from there, I think it was like 92 and 93, went over to Fort Lee.
Oh, you're kidding. I didn't know that.
Yeah, there you go. Little known fact. So,
see, there's another thing I didn't know.
Coach Stoll came with me.
Okay.
Only 1 year he didn't coach at St. Joe's. And for me, it was more of a...
And were you the head coach at Fort Lee?
No. With that, I go running defense.
Okay, who was the head coach then? Not Stan. No, right?
No, Rich Bello. Rich Bello was the head coach.
Oh, okay.
So it turns out that I go down there and it's like, I didn't want to leave St. Joe's. But you're like, do I know how to coach, or is it the system? And I'm just coaching great kids here, and type deal. So it was an opportunity to say, hey, let's see what we're about. So I went down to.
And did it give you a chance to be a coordinator, or you were just coaching?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was running the defense.
All right, so that's something that was a step up. You were getting, you're moving up the ladder there a little bit, more responsibilities, right?
Yeah. I mean, listen, I was running the defense at St. Joe's, but really nobody's running Tony's defense.
Right.
So like you're doing it, but he's there. So this was a chance to go, be like, hey, what do we got? So we go down to Fort Lee, and that was culture shock at first because it was like, at St. Joe's, we come in, we run the mile, we do bench tests, we do all these testing stuff, and at Fort Lee, you find out like you had 35 kids, and this kid Warsecker was our fullback, and he ran 5'1", and he was the fullback at 5'1".
Okay.
At St. Joe's, he moved to the line, or he never see the ball. So go down there.
Or he might not even see the line. He might not see the light of day. He might be sitting there, with a clipboard on his hand to run the 5'1" at St. Joe's, right?
Just awesome kids. Kids that really bought into what me and Walt were selling. Hey, we're coming from St. Joe's, and like this is how we do it. We do it this way. This is why we do it. So we start winning some games, and Fort Lee hasn't won any games. So we come down Thanksgiving morning, and the big rivalry is Fort Lee Cliffside Park.
Yep.
And we're getting ready to play them. And John Brunelli's the coach, that legendary guy, Cliffside.
Yep.
Fort Lee had to be Cliffside, for 20 years, or whatever the case was. So we're coming back out on the field, and we're getting set for the game. And Walt goes to me, he goes, "Do you realize these guys ain't got no headsets on over there?" He goes like, "Yeah, like thinking like this is just a walk in the park." What's that? So we go unbalanced to our bench for the whole first half, and they're like, you tell they're confused because they're not realizing we're unbalanced. They can't get the communication of their kids.
Right.
So we go. It might have been one of the next to Florida Atlantic. It might have been one of the greatest halftime locker rooms I've ever been around.
Really? Okay.
We're on sky high, jacked up. We're beating. I don't remember the score, but we're beating Cliffside Park, and it was like we had to go in and calm them down. Like, guys, like we're going to play at half, And we come out in the second half, doing the same thing, beat them up, and we beat Cliffside Park. And you would have thought, again, I've been around championships, I've been around some big wins.
They had a parade down Anderson Avenue, right?
Without a doubt,
yeah.
top 10 feeling, just to see these kids who were told they would never be, like just a bunch of misfits.
Right.
Who as freshmen got destroyed against Cliffside. Yeah, the end of the season with a win over Cliffside, it was like we were guys.
Right.
Spent a couple years, 2 years there, and then Stan gets a job at Hudson.
Okay.
I come down to Hudson and coach with Stan.
All right, we're gonna hold on right there before you get to Hudson Catholic. We gotta pay the bills a little bit, and we'll be back with the second half of this right, with Coach Rob Stern in 1 second after this word from Stan Sports Center. And Stan Sports Center is your local full-service sporting goods vendor and authorized team dealer. They offer quality products and dozens of brands to outfit your team top to bottom. Stan's has proudly been supporting the local community since 1946, which was a little bit before Rob Stern was born. And it is your one-stop shop for uniforms, equipment, online team stores, and much more. 1946 might even be before Coach Stinson was born. Locations in Hoboken and Saddlebrook and servicing the entire tri-state area. Visit them on the web at Stans Plural Sports Plural CTR.com. That's Stans Plural Sports Plural CTR.com. And check them out on social media for their latest creations. That's Stan Sports Center, located at 528 Washington Street in Hoboken. Telephone number there is 201-798-4466. And if you go down and say hello to my friends Danny and Lou and Todd down at Stan's, and you mention the Hudson County Sports Podcast, and you mention Rob Stern, I don't know if that's going to help, but if you mention the Hudson County Sports Podcast, you will get 10% off on anything retail in the store. Not a bad deal. So mention the Hudson County Sports Podcast, and you get 10% off down at Stan's, 528 Washington Street in Hoboken. All right, we're back with Rob Stern, and he's now going to talk about moving from Fort Lee to Hudson Catholic. And did you even know where Hudson Catholic was at that point?
No, not really. I knew it was in Hudson County, but went down there and worked at Stan for the year.
And what was your thought when you first came down to Hudson Catholic? Did you think that it had promise, or did you say, "Oh boy, did I step in it"?
I've known obviously from doing battles in St. Peter's Prep over the years that it's just a different animal. But it had the potential because why not? Why can't? I came from an area where St. Joe's was good, and Bergen was good, and Bosco was good. So why couldn't St. Peter's be good and Hudson Catholic be good?
Okay.
Was kind of the thing. So after a year with Stan, left, and then Terry Matthews was nice enough to give me the job.
And were you ready at that point, Rob? Did you say to yourself, "Okay, I paid my dues a little bit. The 10 years as being an assistant." Were you ready?
I did my job. I felt like, hey, I've been around enough stops, worked with Freddie, worked with Tony. Left, did our own thing, had success. So I knew what the plan was and what we did worked. So now it's just a matter of now really taking it from a ground level. Stan did a good job that first year. We kind of remember Stan worked with me also at St. Joe's, so a lot of the blueprint of putting it in.
And when you say Stan, we're talking about Stan Miles. We just get right. Okay. Keep saying Stan. We didn't get his full identity. So go ahead.
A lot of the blueprint of how we did things was implemented the year, was Stan's first year. So,
okay.
Probably the greatest thing I ever did, was getting the job and hiring Louis Zeffel.
Okay.
That might have been, when I look back on things and look back on stuff, I hired Louis straight out, fact, knew nothing about him, just other than he went to Hudson Catholic.
Okay.
My thing was like, hey, we need guys that want to coach, but I want to get a guy that's he's got passion. He's a Hudson guy.
Yep.
So I had a couple of guys that were with me, at Hudson, and then and hiring Louis was without a doubt the greatest move that I that I did.
Okay.
As for at Hudson, and obviously moving forward to Chapel. So we got our guys.
And what year is this? 94, 95?
Yeah, I'm gonna say 94, 95, somewhere in that.
Okay.
Somewhere in that range. And hey, we went to work and got our kids, and started working and started doing the weight room, everything that every successful football program does.
All right, now how much of that when you were talking to kids to get them to come to Hudson Catholic, how much of that was a tough sell considering the fact that Hudson had not had success going back to the gate, I guess the days of Agresta and that's like 79, 80, 81. So it had been a while since they had some success. How tough was that? How tough of a sell was that to get kids to come?
Yeah, listen, it was hard. Back then, prep was prep, and it wasn't the way it is today. Like, they were getting the Jersey City kid, they were getting the Bayonne kid, they were getting, like, there was no, kids coming from the shore, kids coming from an hour away. Like,
no.
It was a different product. They were getting the Sea Caucus kid, and like that was like far. Danny DiPatilio coming from Hasbrook Heights was far. You know what I'm saying? So it was a different kind of thing. But we got our niche, and we got into the rec programs in the PAL in Jersey City, and just fought our fight. To get the kids that we had to get. And I think we probably lucked out too to get some kids that didn't get into the prep or felt they wanted a chance to play faster than there. We lucked out with some baseball guys. Hudson obviously has a tremendous baseball program at the time. And,
right.
Jack Montanelli, was a baseball guy. Vasquez, even though he only played 3 years, just the father talked about it playing. Stars are next week, stars are tomorrow. We didn't play his last year. I tease him still to this day. But we had some guys. I got lucky with Wasilewski.
John Wasilewski was the first Hudson Catholic star, I guess, and he went 2 ways. And incredibly, you think about how rare it was back then. Not only was Wasilewski your quarterback, but he was also your leading tackler and your linebacker. And that, from quarterback and linebacker, is really tough. That's a tough mix.
I remember Waz coming into me at halftime of the game and saying, "Coach, and not only that, he plays special teams.
Yeah.
Hey, Coach, I'm a little tired." And he's flipping out. As a younger coach, telling him, "You're tired? I'll let you know when you're tired."
Okay.
Got there for the kickoff, but Waz did everything. I mean, he was super, and we got some good guys. Hudson was a different type of place, and we got a different.
And was John Calderon the first year, or is it the first tenure for you, or the second tenure? John Calderon.
Johnny was the second.
The second. Okay. All right. So who were some of the kids on that first Hudson Catholic team when you were there with Wasilewski? Who were some of the other kids?
Andy Aponte, Mike Gaeta, Pilger. We had some dudes.
Just hard-nosed, tough kids, right?
Tough kids. Yeah. We went up to camp, and we went. At the end of the day, we're doing specials, and I talk about stories like when things may not work out. We went to go do PAT, and we couldn't kick. We couldn't do this. And I remember saying to those guys, "What are we doing here?" And Andy Aponte coming over to me and going, "Coach, we scored 8 points all last year. That was Stan's first year. We scored 8 points all last year, Coach. We didn't practice PAT." Good answer, man. Good answer. I said, "Don't worry about it, guys. We're going to score this year." So just great, hard-nosed, blue-collar, tough Hudson County, kids. So, it was a great run. Obviously, the first man, was great. And
the first year, you what? You go 7-3 your first year?
Yeah, I think so. Something like that. I got a few balls down there with some markings on them, but I know we had some success because we had some kids, and like I said, it was just a great, great run. Obviously, my brother-in-law was on Chris was on the first team, and the first run there, with us, and just good guys. Terrence Murphy.
Oh God, there you go. There's another very, very good.
He's the greatest running back ever. So
Murphy was also a great high school football player, no question. First team All County, he was very good. Yeah.
Played hard,
Yep.
I think at that time we were a wing T team, and we pounded the full back. So Murph was the dude.
Yep.
And running hard. But
and did you definitely qualified for the state tournament one of those 2 years, right? Was it the first year?
We went up to play Bosco. Gave them a scare for a little bit. Gave them a scare for a half. We also had Bergen, for a half 1 year. But again, we put ourselves on the map. Being there, and obviously being able, to compete. We didn't win all the time against St. Peter's Prep, but now that was the measuring stick, and being able to, to be out there and to compete on the field with them where it wasn't 50 to 50-0 every game. So that helped us with like getting kids.
All right, so talk about the shining moment, and it's one that I bust your chops with over and over and over again. But you finally ended up beating St. Peter's Prep. What was it, 16-14? Was that the final score, something like that, right?
Yeah, it's not 17-14.
Yeah. All right, and then and what year was that? That was 98, 99?
I think it was 97, I think.
Okay.
So yeah, obviously for the Hudson guys and stuff, it was a great moment. Listen, they were the measuring stick. Them, Hoboken, Northbury at the time, like those were teams that you would try to be like. So to be in that position to win that game, was tremendous. I know Rich says it was the worst team he ever had, but
Doesn't matter. It's still St. Peter's Prep. You win the game. Without a doubt.
But that.
And it was obviously very important for you and your team, because what did you do with the team bus after you won that game?
Again, I'll take this to my grave. Coach Stern had nothing to do with it because Coach Stern never took the bus.
Okay.
But Mark Malloy, who was one of our assistant coaches, drove the bus back in the day. He did everything. And he was a Hudson guy. And him and a couple other Hudson guys that were on the bus took a little victory lap around St. Peter's Prep. I wasn't even in my office 15 minutes to get the phone call from Fob breaking my chops. And I'm like, listen, I have no idea what you're talking about. I'm just waiting for these guys to come back, get the kids out of here, and we can go get a couple of pieces and celebrate the win. But
bust your chops. He ended up writing his entire column, about 70-something column inches, about you beating Prep, and so never mind. And that infamous bus ride. So he wrote about both.
I wish I could take credit for being on the bus all these years, and I wish I could take credit for saying, hey, why don't you guys do that? No, but I got to give it to those guys that were coaching, and I guess their Hudson blood came out of them for the love of Prep.
Okay.
So, that was a great run, and then from there.
All right, now how in the world did it come about that you would go up the boulevard to Harvard on the boulevard and coach the football team at St. Peter's College? And how did that happen?
All of that was orchestrated by the Fob.
It was, really?
The Fob came to me one day and said, hey, you're having success here. St. Peter's is looking for a coach. I can get you the job. So as Hudson County stuff goes.
Did you want to have that as you being indebted to Ed Far Ford for the rest of your life after that point? That's almost selling your soul to the devil.
Without a doubt, it's a good devil. It was a good devil. You gotta love him, and I miss him all the time.
Same here.
I laugh now because my son's a baseball guy first, and he's a football guy. And all those years I made fun of him about baseball guys, the stars of today, the stars of next week, and the stars of all that stuff. And I said he would have loved my kid, and he would have been he's still breaking my chops from heaven.
Okay.
The more Joe.
Wait a minute. Heaven? No, I don't know about that.
He did a lot of good.
He's in purgatory somewhere. No, okay. Anyway.
He did a lot of good.
Yeah.
So it lows out. We have a meeting and gets it brokered, and I met with the famous Bill Stein, and he offered me the job, and I told him, hey, listen, part of me taking the job is I'm bringing some of my guys.
Right, and then and in typical Stein fashion, he probably said, hey, what do you want this job for? What's it all about? What do you want this job? You think you can do it?
Bill was fun to work with. He let me do it.
Wow. Okay, go ahead.
And I remember coming in.
See, there's something we have in common, but I don't know if I have that same type of feeling that you have.
You had a different type of job.
Yeah.
Quite honestly, when they hired me, they were probably hoping football was going to fold, and they were probably hating that.
No. He wanted it. Trust me. He wasn't hoping football would fold. He was a football proponent. He just didn't want it to be as successful as you became. But he wanted to have the sport because in his mind, he thought that 70 kids would be coming to St. Peter's College to play football. That's what he thought.
Above him, the powers that be, and like for what we did in a normal environment, you'd still have football there and we'd be rocking and rolling. You know what
Yep.
I'm saying? But, I don't know how much the powers of bugs in Montvale that year.
Yeah.
So, lo and behold, we get there, we get the job, and it's, I guess it was March or April, whatever. It was somewhere in this early spring. And,
in what year is that? 2000?
No, that had to be like 98, maybe 90, the 90s there. The first season I coached was the 99 season.
99 season, okay.
But it was like 98 spring.
Okay.
And I remember walking in and I said, "Hey, Bill, I'll see you in a week." And he's like, "What?" I'm like, "I'm going to Florida." And there's only Bill to say. He says, "Yeah, what did you take vacation? You only worked a week, you know?" And I said, I was going to recruit. He goes, recruit what? I said, "I'm going to get players in Florida." And he looked at me like I was crazy. So there it was, me and Louis Z on the plane down to Florida, did 58 schools in 4 days.
Right.
And changed the landscape of St. Peter's College, football.
All right. Now here's what you're going to get the credit for, and I'm not, and you know me, I don't give you credit at all. But here's what you're going to get credit for, in that why you were as successful as you were at St. Peter's. Is that you uncovered scholarships, grants, financial aid more than any other human being in the history. And I think maybe it's because your full-time job was working in the financial aid office, but you go ahead.
I was full-time just football, but we did. Because what we did was, one of the first things we did before we got on the plane was I went over and I met with the financial aid people, I met with the admissions director, I met with everybody I could meet with and said, okay, how do we, what do you do here with kids? So at the time... How
helpful was Ed Reuter to you at that time in terms of getting those scholarships and grants?
Listen, everybody was great because in reality they weren't really doing anything for us.
Right.
They were just taking their system and we basically blew it up.
Right, absolutely.
Because they gave out a scholarship to one person in every county in New Jersey.
Right.
So I had them run the list for the last 5 years. Where all, what every county, what county. There was like 9 counties that they didn't even give one out in 5 years.
Right.
But guess what?
You did.
We went down and hammered those counties. I got Jimmy Galea, one of the greatest kickers that I ever coached. But Jimmy came out of Hamilton. Guess what? He was one of those guys.
Yep.
So we just now did what we did, and now from a financial aid standpoint.
Who were the brothers from Hunterdon Central? You got those two too, right? What were their names?
Hunterdon Central?
Yeah, didn't you have a pair of brothers from Hunterdon Central? No?
No, that might have been before.
Oh, okay.
No, I mean we just flooded that market, and then they had out-of-state grants that they were trying to get kids to St. Peter. This is not football stuff. This is
school stuff, right? Yeah.
School stuff. Out-of-state housing grants. I think it was like $5,000. So okay, hey, we're gonna go out of state and we're gonna find a kid that gets $15,000 academic money. He's gonna get $5,000 on a housing grant. His family income is low. He's gonna get another $15,000 financial grant. Before you know it, we were just hitting the jackpot on people.
Right.
Based on what they did, and then down the road they had to change. We made them change their financial aid thing because they had a ton of kids, and then
because you were using that money. Yeah, no. Yeah.
I mean, no difference. Like my answer to them all the time was, "You guys go out and get kids from out of the area.
Right.
Knock yourselves out." And then we had the great Bob O'Peachy that was the track coach.
Yep.
First, we were just like rock. Then all of a sudden I was bringing kids in. And he walked in my office one day, I'll never forget. He goes, "Hey, coach, this is the kind of money I have. If you can find me a sprinter, another guy that can throw a shot like your brother, like Chris, and whatever you need, coach, let me know. I'll coach those guys."
Okay.
And at first it was like he was fighting it, but then I was bringing like I brought this kid Derek Clayton from Philly. Clayton can fly.
Yep.
Stevie Taylor. They were legit track dudes. You know what I'm saying? And Bob was out winning the back.
Yeah.
Placing guys. So it was like his best guys were my guys.
Yep.
So it kind of became like, we took what we had grant-wise, we took what we had this, and then, like I said, we hit the jackpot in Florida, going down there and meeting great people, great, New Jersey guys don't know, those guys are just different dudes in South Florida. Like,
all right, and talk a little bit about that. It gets lost in the shuffle here. It doesn't get lost in the shuffle on the banks of the old Raritan because he's gone down there to try to recruit Florida kids. Just talk a little bit about the talent level that's down in Florida and how different that is from the kids in New Jersey.
It's not, and it's funny because I actually sat down one year when I came back and Mike Benny told me, and it's not that God didn't say, let's take the kids and put them down in Homestead, Florida. They're just better people. They're better football players. What they do down there, unlike what they do up here in areas, and I'm talking about some inner city, places. They take the distractions away from them. And what I mean by that is, the kid doesn't have gym. He has football.
Okay.
So for the whole year, third period, he has football. So what goes on in third period down there is, in the off season, they lift.
Yeah.
So when that kid who has to take care of his little brother or sister and pick him up at school at 3 o'clock in the winter, and he can't make the weight room up here because he's got to go get a job to support his family. That kid now has his training in. He did it already. He put his hour.
Okay.
And they had guys that you talk to the school, and you got greeted by a guy in a golf cart. And it was some guy that played ball there at that school who's not a security guard, which every school has security guards.
Yep.
So they hired guys that were on staff that now help the process. So now you had guys driving around. Oh, Johnny, get the class. Billy, what are you doing out here? Hey, get here. So you had guys, squashing those kids. So they were being told where to be. They were doing, their study hall during the day. They were doing their lifting during the day. So outside of the season, they took away the elements that when you talk to a lot of coaches up here, what happened? The kid's not on time for class. The kid's not in class. Kid's not class. Kid didn't make the weight room. So they do a better job in things that can be done up in the north. Now, granted, too, they got a lot of kids.
A lot of kids. Yeah.
We went into, one of the first schools we went to Carroll City, had 6,700 kids in school. So,
no!
And I was at the top.
What town is that in? 6,700 kids.
Carroll City's in Miami.
Wow.
That was at the time when they screwed up the election years back and votes and all that stuff. And I said, man, I can see how this goes. But we got lucky that the South Florida coaches were very open to us. And part of that was, hey, listen, you're going to take my kid. They had that thing, like, you're going to give our kid an opportunity, go through here. And then I got a chance to meet, got real friendly with, they get a lot of his kids, but he opened up a lot of doors for me. But George Smith, he was the head coach of St. Thomas Aquinas, obviously, tremendous program. And George loved Louis and loved me.
Okay.
We did, and I can see like it was yesterday. George always had a dip in his mouth, which reminded me of Vinny, the Ascalise, and, and George, there'd be Purdue, Penn State, all these big schools. And George's secretary would say, buzz into him who was here. And he would be like, yes, send those two guys in. And we'd come in and be like, George, Purdue's out there. And screw those guys, they can win. You guys came down from New Jersey. And we'd hang out, go to lunch. You'd love it. You'd love this. And I'll never forget the day I told him, I said, George, we just signed a deal. We're going to play Florida Atlantic. He was going to spit in the bucket. And he looked at us and he goes, you two guys are out of your mind. You're going to get hurt. He goes, you're going to get hurt. He goes, get a full scholarship. You're going to get hurt. He said, Coach, you're taking a shot, man. You're taking a shot.
And that was playing Florida Atlantic in Joe Robbie Stadium, correct?
So as that goes now, we sign a deal, $40,000 to go down and play the game. And it kind of helped, obviously it jump-started our recruiting down there because, we were playing it down there like, hey, we're taking guys these guys don't want.
Yep.
Come play with us. And then in 2000, I get married. And
probably the best decision you ever made because explain what your wife did at one point in her life.
She was the head cheerleading coach at St. Peter's High School.
Yeah, but before that, while she was a student in high school, what did she do?
She was a dancer. She also kept score. She did something with Tracy. I'm sorry, Tracy played for you.
No, Tracy played for me. Jen was my scorekeeper.
Scorekeeper. Yeah, there you go.
So the cousins were with me for 2 years. So I had the two of them together for 2 years. But that was the smartest move you ever made, was marrying Jen Casaro.
I don't know what kind of girl she was. So we go on our honeymoon. We get married November 25th. We go on our honeymoon.
You're kidding. Your anniversary is November 25th?
Yeah.
Mine's the 24th. See?
So we go fly to Florida, go on a cruise. We're gonna come back from the cruise, and she loved Disney. She wanted to go to Disney for 3 or 4 days. So part of the deal was I got to recruit. Okay. So we come back on the ship, get in the car. We're gonna drive to Orlando. I got to hit a few schools. I'm at Chaminade Madonna High School, recruiting a kid by the name of Kevin Kennedy.
Okay.
Big defensive end, stud scholarship level.
It sounded like you said you went to Chaminade, like you were like it's Shanana. But it's Chaminade, right?
Chaminade Madonna.
Chaminade Madonna?
Yep, high school.
Okay.
So we're sitting in there, and I'm in the library, and I'm doing my deal with me and Kevin and the mom. And we're talking. I say, listen, I know Coach Schellenberger, was down here. He wants you in Florida Atlantic, this and that. I said, but, we really want your kid. She was a little apprehensive to allow him, to leave Florida, come to New Jersey. And I was like, you gotta believe in us. You want us to be here. You visited us. So I looked at Mother Dead in the eye and said, I'm going to tell you how much more I want your kid than Howard Schellenberger does. So here's what I go. If you walk in the parking lot right now, I just got married on November 25th. My wife's sitting in the car right now, and I'm here with your kid, wanting to get him.
That works. That works.
And the mother looked at me and goes, you got to be serious, all right? She walked outside. My wife waved out the window. She turned, she hugged me. She said, Coach, she's going to St. Peter's. That was the first time we were celebrating on a kid. So, it was crazy. I went back to Thomas Aquinas, same thing. George goes, you're on your honeymoon? He goes, you're going to get divorced before this even gets going. I go, nah, I got to keep her. I got to do one. So that's how that whole Florida thing starts. And then, we get a good group of kids here, and then the time came. We got on. We went down. We actually went down on a Thursday. The game was Saturday. We go down on a Thursday. So we're staying at the Biscayne Bay Marriott overlooking South Beach. We're staying. At the time,
did Florida Atlantic put you up too? Was that part of the guarantee?
No. They gave us $40,000.
Oh, that's it. Okay.
They gave us $40,000, and St. Peter's deal was it wasn't like, hey, if we spend 30, we can keep 10.
Okay.
The school kept the rest of the money.
Right.
I'll get to that story at the end. So now we go down there. I told kids we're going first class. We get down there, fly down, buses. We pull into Marriott Biscayne Bay. Who's there? But Lee Corso.
Wow.
And Herbie, right? And so he's there doing the Thursday night game, Miami, West Virginia.
Okay.
Virginia's in the hotel. So this is Thursday. So what's the thing goes to Lee Corso goes, you guys are down here 2 days before the game. You got some budget. Because I got to follow you guys. So story goes, West Virginia gets beat up. Ricky Rodriguez comes into the hotel. He says they were supposed to stay and leave Friday. He goes, check everybody out. Tell the team they got 10 minutes to get down here. We're out of here. I'll never forget. I was like, oh my God, this is another level now at that stuff. So we go the next day, obviously, next Saturday, and we go over to play. We go over to play those guys, and it was just electrifying. We get a.
How many people were in the building?
I don't know if it was really that crowded looking back on it, because they were just a startup team too.
Okay.
They were a startup team, but.
And mind you, this was 20 years ago this week, right?
20 years ago this week. So we get out there, we're winning at the half, we're winning. So now we're talking a lot of smack on the sideline to the South Florida teams, like you guys ain't good enough. We're in their head. So we come. I'm telling the kids, beat them off the field. So we come into the lock. They're running, we're running. So we kind of merge into the tunnel, and then we got to make a right-hand turn. The next thing you know, a fight breaks out.
In the tunnel?
And there we are in the tunnel, and there's punches being thrown, coaches, and it's just, just nuts. It's just a crazy, crazy scene. So with this, Schellenberger was doing a halftime field report. Unbeknownst to him, he comes in now. Coaches are yelling at coaches. I got Enrique Pizarro's up in the box. He's coming down. He's eating a hot dog. He don't even know what's going on. He turns the corner. Meanwhile, we got this kid, Jittery Doyle, who was a special teams guy for us. I mean, just like one of those big toe, one of those heart and soul kind of guys. He's laying on the ground and fixing the pile. I'm looking like, oh my God, who's down? And one was like, hey, it's just Doyle. They thought it was wild. So we get into the locker room, and now we're like the dolls. You're in a beautiful locker room, and I'm opening the kids up. Like, this is bullshit. This is not what we're about. We're not. We got more class than this. You're acting like we expect them to be. So I go through this whole thing, and I can see the kids' emotion going down, and I'm like, something just hit me, and I was like, I took the table and I flipped the table over and I said, but I don't care because this is the greatest ever football. Screw these guys, go out there. They were like, I could see their emotions being drained. Like, coach, why you mad at us? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I just had to flip the switch back and the locker room went berserk. I mean, just guys high five and going nuts, and it was so crazy. Obviously, we finished the game. I mean, Louis did an unbelievable job.
And you won 19-0? 19-0.
Yeah. I mean, Louis shutting it out was just, again, I go back to, I can't say enough about Louis the coach. He's, listen, he's doing a phenomenal job at Hudson Catholic.
Right now, right as we speak. Right?
And that's his school, and that's all that stuff. But, I tease him all the time. And again, everybody's got their path. If Louis should be at Bosco at Bergen, and Tim Peters running the deep. You know what I'm saying? He's, he does a lot with not a lot.
Yep.
And the motivation that he's got, he's nuts. That whole week he made guys chase a fish. He went to the market on right around the block from Jarashak and bought a fish and wrapped it up in newspaper and kept throwing the guys to chase the fish, which is probably some disease-infected thing by Thursday. We're probably all were infected, but he would make you believe that we would beat the Giants by Friday.
Okay.
He would have a plan, and listen, he has awesome dudes that play defense for us. I mean, we had guys that didn't belong in St. Peter's.
Yep.
Johnny Ambrose playing safety, was playing.
Latoro Yates.
Smooth playing defensive end. We had the kid Kwashiri, the kid that came from Finland.
Oh yeah.
We had dudes. I mean, we had guys like.
And there's always those great Finnish football players. There's a ton of those, right? Yeah.
How we found them.
Kwashi, was that his name?
Kwashiri.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who a professor at St. Peter's College said, you should leave here. You're too smart. And he went to Columbia.
Oh right. Okay.
You should have seen that meeting with Steve Stein and those guys. I always joke the guy out, the professor.
Okay.
That's good. Let's tell the kid to leave. But just a great moment, and what made it great was we had so many guys from South Florida.
Yep.
So it was just crazy, And then we went back to the hotel. The kids went. One of the parents had a barbecue because we had all the kids. They went over there, and we went back to the hotel, and we were sitting at the. It was a beautiful bar. I remember when we walked in, and lobster tail, shrimp cocktail. We were buying drinks for anybody who walked by.
Okay.
So.
And that first year at St. Peter's, you got. I mean, it was almost a miracle worker, right? Didn't you win 10 games?
No, the first year we went. I don't know, almost for one and whatever. I remember being saying I can't wait for the season to end. Actually, Bobby left was coach. We were doing a morning workout thing, and I was flipping out at the kids. I snapped, basically told the whole team, y'all should leave.
Okay.
Because I don't care who you are, where you came from, we're owing whatever, we could be owing whatever, what happened? But you're going to do it all. What's this whole thing? I remember Lexi coming to see me and Louie going, I'm paying guys on scholarship. He goes, I can't get them to work like this. He goes, and you guys are on 8, on this, on that. You guys got guys running through walls here. So, just a, sidebar there too. Louis Zampelli used to play in the pickup games with the St. Peter's College basketball team.
And he used to pick up offensive fouls in pickup games.
Yeah, Lecky used to let him run because Louis talk smack, knock guys down.
Right.
Tease him, tell him you're on scholarship. He was just Louis is a great motivator.
Right. But he would pick. Who in their right mind in a pickup game would pick up offensive fouls? That's Louis Zampelli.
That's it. He's crazy. But that was the beginning.
All right. So your first year, you only won one game.
Yeah, won one, and then we went. Then 10-1 season, and then we lost to Duquesne. Which was in the MAC, which was a tough loss to swallow.
That was in the MAC championship game, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we were 7-4. We had played Fordham. Things were starting to roll at St. Peter's. Like we played FIU. We picked up. I think we got 20,000 to go across the river to play Fordham or something.
Yeah.
If they probably just would have let us run with things, we could have got money. Because in my last year, we were actually booking a game to go play at the Fargo Dome at North Dakota State.
Oh, really? Okay.
North Dakota State now, but we were going to get money to go play. It was like we got to the point with the Calipari thing when he was at UMass.
Right.
At any time, with ESPN watching. So it was like, no, we're going to be committed, and it helped recruiting, and it got us better kids. And then the end.
Okay. All right. Well, hold on before we go. Leaving about St. Peter's and going back to Hudson Catholic. Just got to give Stan's another plug. And Stan's Sports Center is your local full-service sporting goods vendor and authorized team dealer. They offer quality products and dozens of brands to outfit your team top to bottom. Stan's has proudly been supporting the local community since 1946 and is your one-stop shop for uniforms, equipment, online team stores, and much more. Locations in Hoboken and Saddlebrook and servicing the entire tri-state area. Visit them on the web at Stans, plural, sports, plural, CTR.com. Again, that's Stans, plural, sports, plural, CTR.com. And check them out on social media for their latest creations. That's Stan Sports Center located at 528 Washington Street in Hoboken. Telephone number there, 201-798-4466. And don't forget, if you mention the Hudson County Sports Podcast to the boys down at Stan's, Danny and Todd and Louie, mention Hudson County Sports Podcast, you can get 10% off on everything retail in that store. Not a bad deal. That's our corporate sponsor, Stan Sports Center, and I thank them very much for being part of the podcast. So anyway, all right. So now tell me a little bit about. Did you see the forest coming from the end of the trees at St. Peter's, and did what was happening after you were there for 4 years?
We were there, and like St. John's dropped football.
Yep.
Canisius dropped football. Me and Louis flew up one morning to talk to kids. Canisius, they dropped football. So lo and behold, what people don't know is St. Peter's. I was on a month-to-month contract.
Wow.
Okay.
Are you kidding me?
Fact. So I went in to go see.
How did you operate like that? A month-to-month contract?
They could terminate me and give me a month's pay. So again, when I took the job, I wanted the job. I didn't know. So Bill gave me. Well,
you certainly weren't getting rich there. Nobody knows that. So you were,
Bill gave me hey, don't worry about it. Everybody's like that, So, I had taken a trip vacation with my wife, and at the time, Brother Tim Ahern Brother Tim, when I was leaving to go to St. Peter's, Brother Tim came up to talk to me because he was coming in. And Brother Tim, made a great pitch for me to stay. And I was like, brother, if you came probably 2 weeks ago, I'm staying. I said, but my mind right now is at St. Peter's. So that's where we're going. So we had stayed in contact over time. Things at Hudson were, I guess, weren't winning like we were winning. Whatever the case may be. he was looking to make a change. He called me up, wanted to have dinner. So I had dinner with him before I went away, and as Ted says,
at Laco's, of course, right?
What?
You had dinner with Brother Tim at Laco's, of course, right?
Yes.
Yes.
And I had a list of like 20 things that I needed to come back. And my wife was like, who do you think, your Lou Holtz? With all of these things. So I sat, we met, and I rattled off all the stuff, that I needed to have.
Well, one of them was to be the boss, right?
I've been there before, so I knew what.
Yeah, but this time you wanted to be the boss. So you wanted to be the AD and the football coach, right?
I had the whole,
the whole shebang.
We go through this whole thing, and King goes to me when we're done. He goes, Coach, you got everything you want. I got one thing on. I said, sure, brother. I said, the great father told me in negotiations, both parties must feel like they're getting something. So, what do you want? He said, you got to keep the helmets gold only, because I'm a big Notre Dame guy.
Ah.
And I said, brother, done. And I went away, and I think as I went away, somebody else told me. And I came back to St. Peter's, and I said, listen, I want a 3-year deal, guaranteed 3-year deal, or I'm good. And they were like, nah, we don't do that, this, and that. I said, hey, no problem, I'm out of here. I just see where, everybody was crumbling around the map. And, we weren't looking to go to the Pioneer or the NEC, you know what I'm saying? And we were there. We arrived, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
That's what I'm back to saying, a big mistake in St. Peter's history is not moving at that time, like Maris did.
Right, to the NEC. They should have left right then and there, right.
Like where Monmouth is right now in the NEC.
Could have been.
We should have been there with Wagner and Monmouth. And St. Peter's would have had some history right now. I might still be there. But that's the mistake they made.
Yeah, well, they would have had to turf the field down at Jeroshak. That definitely would have had to happen. But
I just saw they're not looking to do anything.
Yeah.
It's they're riding the wave and they're gonna be next.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And right now I got a guy that's willing to give me everything in a place that I really didn't want to leave the first time, and loved the people, and Terry was great. And there was nothing wrong at Hudson Catholic. Life was good. So whenever we went, we packed our bags and we went down, back down up the boulevard.
Right.
And went back over to St.
Hudson Catholic.
In round 2, and it was awesome. It was awesome going back and being with the people that were there at the time. His brother, was super and wanted to win and wanted to, he wanted to be St. Peter's Prep. He wanted to be Bergen Catholic, and
Yep.
He wanted to be good in his school for everything, and he was, kind of like myself, was kind of an outcast of, didn't want to be told by Newark what to do.
Right. And you were, and this is what, let's say, what's this, 2005, 2006, somewhere in that realm?
We went back in, I think, 2000, and maybe 2004.
Yeah, okay. All right. And you were right there. When you say you wanted to be like St. Peter's Prep, well, you weren't like St. Peter's Prep, but you were damn close, weren't you?
Yeah. We were there. We had some great kids. Great situations. And again, we're going to playoffs every year. We were winning at that time. The HCIA still existed, and
you won that division of the HCIA 3 times, right?
I mean, we were beating Hoboken. It was a good time.
Yeah.
It was a great time. It was right.
You went to play at Rutgers in the state championship game against Holy Spirit, and I still think that Jason Hendricks was in the end zone. I still believe he was in the end zone. I was right there, and they didn't call out a touchdown. I still can't believe that wasn't a touchdown.
Instead, they called the mouthpiece being out of the kid's mouth away from the play.
Yeah.
Who, by the way, during the week, Pizarro told the kids, get that stupid yellow mouthpiece out of your mouth.
Oh, really? That happened?
Yeah. And he said it to him. So, but again, just a great time. And I love the days down there at Hudson. Obviously I still feel, ties to that place because, quite honestly, I don't know if, I guess, I brought Nick Marinello in there to coach.
Right.
So it was hysterical. We were, I was standing at Irvington. I went to the Irvington Hudson game, and I was laughing. I said, "Wow, this is crazy." I said, "This Hudson Catholic exists right here, right now."
Right here.
Stan Miles was the
back judge, right?
Was the official. I said, Stan brought me, who I brought Louis, who I hired you.
Right.
I said, this is all so surreal,
And Terry in the mix somehow, and now Terry's the president and the principal,
Me and Terry last week.
We speak Terry meaning Terry Matthews, who's now the president and the principal of the school.
Yes. Great man.
Great man.
We had so much fun. I was just last week being on assignment, you guys, it was just great. So listen, I got a bittersweet.
And you even got to listen to make me. I made fun of you for a couple times, and you didn't even come back at me. You didn't come back. I was like,
Hudson County, man. I mean, that's just the way it is.
That's right.
Unfortunately, for all the good, it ended bitter. And that's just how life moves on.
Right.
So different things, different situations, and obviously leaving there and then going back. I guess you could say going back home to full circle back to St. Joe's.
Where you stayed since when? Since 2009, 2008. Yeah. Yeah. And incredibly, in retrospect, Hudson Catholic should have never let you walk. Never. That's just my opinion, because you had, you had that program right going where it was, and unfortunately, the president and principal at that time didn't see you. The two of you didn't see eye to eye, and he wanted you in the building all the time, which made no sense. If you were going to go out and schmooze and do what you had to do, you had to do what you had to do.
We just different paths and different, and it's funny because I was the guy when enrollment was going down, went to all of these people there and said, you need to go co-ed.
Yeah.
And they all laughed at me. They all laughed at me. Look.
Saved the school. That saved the school. Going co-ed saved the school.
Yeah, of course.
Because if it didn't go co-ed, it would have been they said they were closing. Wait a minute, time out. Weren't you still there when they said they were closing?
No, I was gone.
Oh, you were gone. Okay. Because they said they were closing, and then all of a sudden there was a change of heart, and they stayed open once they went co-ed, and they broke away from the archdiocese, and they've been a private school ever since, and that was the best thing that ever happened, and now Hudson Catholic is flourishing, and it is flourishing. It is.
It was great to see it. You get over the hard stuff in my life. She'd tell you right now, she wouldn't walk into that place. The place gets burned down. The place was.
Right. No, she's
old school, and
She also didn't like the way they treated her father too, but that's besides the point too. Yeah.
It was tough on us as a family when I got let go.
Right.
It was a tough couple of years to reinvent myself, do some stuff. The bills still came. You got punched in the face at the wrong time.
All right. Now, before we get totally lost in the fact that you've been at St. Joe's all this time, let's talk about the other side of your life, which is coaching softball, which you did at Cedar Grove for, 20 years, 15 years?
I was 17. I was at Cedar Grove for 17. I started in Northern Highlands. Went to
See, there's something else I didn't know about you. Okay, go ahead.
Went to Demarest for 4 or 5 years. Went to Ramsey for a year.
As head coaches?
Yep.
Oh, wow, okay.
And then went to Cedar Grove. And then from Cedar Grove, left, coached the year. My good friend who just passed, Horahonix.
Right. BH, right.
And then been at Mount St. Dominic's ever since. So I'm going on, I think, 12 years now.
At the Mount, okay.
Yeah. So
that's a good program. It was not a great program when you got there, but now it's a state ranked program, right?
No, they had their success. I mean, they were good. I mean, I think we've taken to another level. But we've gotten over the hump. They were state qualifier of the year, county champion. Actually, it was funny because Mount was beating me in the county finals every year.
That's when you were at Cedar Grove, really?
Cedar Grove, yeah. We just started about 18 kids one year. We had 17 kids from Cedar Grove started.
Oh my God.
8 at Mount, nine with me. So,
Okay.
It's been a great, it's been a great run over there. And I work with a great guy, Lorenzo Sozio, who's the AD, and we're quote unquote co-head coaches together.
Okay.
Just a great dude, just a great guy to work with. And it's funny because when we did this, everybody was in the world of softball was like, these two guys are going to work together. And it would have been like the correlation might have been me and Stinson coaching together, or me and Hanson coaching together. Like it was just, we were the same guy. We just wanted to kill each other.
Well, there were rumors about you and Hanson coaching together, which was almost as funny, which now takes place at Hudson Catholic, that Freddie Stengel and Greg Toll are working together. I still can't comprehend.
Find out. I love Rich, man. I love Rich. We just talked yesterday. We talk all the time. Obviously, it's nice that we're not coaching against, that he ain't coaching, but, listen, guys like us, you're just competitive.
Right.
You're going to do what you got to do, but, I always joke, he jokes every year, you got to come down, you got to come on the boat in the summer and relax, you find out you're the same type of guy,
right.
You want to win, like we're guys, if we coach against our moms, we'd want to beat her.
Yeah.
We're not going to lay down, so it's just, you find similarity, but, with Lorenzo, it's been great. We share the same passions for kids. And
all right, now talk a little bit about your summer program, and that's the New Jersey Pride, and how many kids you got with that summer program, your travel team?
Yeah, we got 10 teams in our program.
10?
We got 10 from 10U to 18U.
Oh my God!
We got 10 programs,
and how do you raise the money for that?
I mean, we're driven straight from parents, and paying to play, and
so it's pay to play. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, so it's kind of, it runs. We run as people run.
Okay.
It's been a great. It's almost going on 30 years.
Okay, and is there a website that somebody can visit for the New Jersey Pride?
Yeah, NewJerseyPrideSoftball.com.
Okay. And you're also on Twitter and
we're on Twitter, we're on Instagram, we're our team's funny right now because my wife is actually out in Arizona with my daughter. My daughter's getting ready to play in probably about another hour, out there. So having her in the program, having her coaching her in high school has been an experience. And
your wife's coaching one of the teams?
No.
Oh.
She's Julie McCoy.
Okay.
Doing the driving and spending the money.
Oh, okay.
Doing the sightseeing of Arizona.
But the Pride is now playing in a tournament in Arizona today, like this weekend.
We have 2 teams out in Arizona. Right now it's a heavy recruiting period from October 15th to November 20th. It's a live Division I period.
Wow.
We've been fortunate. We sent close to 300 kids to school. Over those 30 years.
Wow.
A lot of kids in a lot of great spots and great programs and it's a whole nother. It's so weird. It's a whole nother side of my life. It's different.
It gets lost in the shuffle a little bit, but it's a really big thing, right?
Yeah, I mean, just being
10 teams. So what do you have? Like 300 kids in your program?
No, about 100. Each team averages about 13 to 15. So you have about 160 kids.
Okay.
Probably in our program. And again, we're a year-round thing. They play fall ball. Obviously, I'm not involved in the fall. One because of football, two because of NJSIA. I can't. I got kids that play.
Right.
I oversee. I'll go watch a practice. I'll watch team play or whatever. But I'm fortunate to have some the same way I had Louie and those guys on coaching. I got some guys that have been coaching with me for 15 years, 18 years, and just putting the time in and what kind of separates our program from a lot of programs is we're not a dad-run. Most of our teams from the 14U up is coached by quote-unquote, guys and girls who coach. I don't have kids in the program. Had kids in the program in the past, but it's that's kind of separates.
All right. Do you get a same amount of, say, quote, pride playing coaching softball as you do coaching football?
Yeah, I mean, I listen. I enjoy both. Like, someone always said to me, like, if you had to pick one, what would it be? Listen, there's nothing like a Saturday or a Friday night football.
Okay.
Why? There's only one a week. You know what I'm saying? There's only one a week, and there is only 9 games before you get to go to the playoffs, and every game is special. You know,
Okay.
every game is special. You know, in softball, in the high school season, there's 25 games in the state tournament and the county tournament.
Right.
So, in reality, you know, like at Mount St. Dominic's, we are blessed to have great kids and a great situation. Like, you're jockeying all year to basically play your 2 or 3 county games, and the road leads to IHA every year. So,
right.
And down to Dominic. So, you know what you're getting into, and if you lose on Monday, you're miserable. But chances are you're playing Tuesday, you're playing Wednesday, and
right.
take it out of your mouth. You know, your football, you know, you win or lose on Saturday.
You got 5 days to think about it.
And not even that, like, you got to go break the tape down and get ready so you can even enjoy it Sunday.
Yeah.
You got to work. You know, like, you know, you go off the field, it's not like you lose on Monday and you're going to have this big whole session on how to fix it. You just move on. So the highs are high because we play at a high level. And then when you coach in the summer, you know, we're coaching the best of the best now in the area. You know, we got kids that come for us from New York, from out of state, Pennsylvania, you know, play with us. And, you know, when you're on the national level, you're playing in the big recruiting events, you're playing against the best. Like,
right.
I watched the College World Series and say, yeah, we played her. She was on this team. She pitched against us. We beat this kid. You know, so, you know, it's kind of like, you know, like in football terms, how we're in super, whatever we're called now. You know, every game's a mega game. You know, when you play in a big national event, like, that's what it is.
Yep.
You know, it's that thing. So it's the same kind of feeling. You know, and the gratifying stuff that you on the softball side is, from the pride side, is, you know, getting the kids in the top. You know, I mean, listen, winning and losing is what it's all about, but, you know, every Monday in the fall season when the phone starts blowing up, you know, like, hey, we want to recruit this kid, and we want to scholarship this kid, like, that's the joy. You know,
okay.
Having those opportunities that, hey, you made that happen. You know, and unfortunately, in high school softball, they really don't mean that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, you know, but team-wise, it's special. But you're not saying, you know, Sally did this, and all of a sudden she's getting a scholarship. Because no one's coming to watch you play.
Right.
You know, so where in football, you know, obviously there is no AAU club side of football.
Okay.
You know, high school is where it's at. So, you know, it's fun being part of, you know, people's lives and changing them, and, you know, seeing parents all ecstatic that, hey, we put the time and the effort in, and the next thing you know, my kid's going on scholarship to go play.
All right. Now, real quickly, first of all, you mentioned your wife, Jen, and you have 2 children, and talk a little bit about them real quick.
My son's a senior. And, you know, he's at St. Joe's. He's a backup quarterback. It's been a great ride with him because, you know, he's got coach written all over him. He's just, you know, sitting and watching tape with him and going over game plans. And, you know, even though he's not on the field, but he has a big input, you know. I joke all the time. I said I'm probably better off putting him in the box, you know, and talking to him during the game than having him on the sideline talking to him.
Right.
So he's been fun to, you know, it's been a fun experience.
And he's a very good baseball player, right?
Yeah. I mean, listen, he was trapped. You know, he got an injury in the middle of the year last year. He got trapped behind a phenomenal St. Joe's team, you know, last year with guys. You know, he's probably anywhere else. You know, he's throwing last year, you know, horses, but. You know, he's doing some stuff right now. He's getting some looks. You know, we'll see. You know, he lost time in the summer playing with an injury, but we'll see how it pans out for him and what happens.
Okay. And your daughter is what's her name and how old is she?
My daughter Gianna's going to be 16 in June and plays with me at the Mount. As a sophomore, she started a year last year because her bad dad got COVID. And she had to be bounced out, contact traced, so she missed the first 5 or 6 games.
You had COVID?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Talk about the dynamics of.
How bad? Did you get real sick?
Just real weak.
Okay.
You know, more mental. It was more mentally for me than it was physically. Just, you know, talk about, you know, coaching, and that's all I do. You know, you're coaching, I'm giving lessons and training, and. You know, and now all of a sudden, like, I'm locked in a room.
Yeah.
Like, that don't fly with me. It's like, my wife asked, like, I might be the only guy in Jersey that don't like the shore.
Yeah.
I don't like the beach because it's boring. So I need action. So now she's traced because because I got it. She's miserable. She used her varsity team. She's tearing it up, in the preseason, and now she's shut down. And then the worst part, because of the stupid rules, I was able to go back before she was able to go back.
Oh my God.
So it was the hardest game I ever had to coach. I'm walking out of the house, and I'm going to coach.
And she's got to stay at the house.
She was, it was a little rough around here for a couple of weeks.
All right, but Gianna's a big time player too?
Yeah, she's pretty good.
Okay.
And then, the dynamic is now, hey, I'm the coach. She's a freshman. Obviously, we're playing games already without her. So now here it is, like, so he's gonna go play his game.
Yeah.
So talk about her having pressure. So, and again, we spoke to Lorenzo, and I said, listen, she killed it in the preseason. She deserves to go out there to play. We're going to give her the same 6 or 7 games, and if she doesn't do good, then I don't care if she's my kid. We're going to make a move.
Yeah.
So we go out, and the way the stretch was, we play some great teams. And I think our first game is against 100 Central.
Oh God.
So we're up there, and I'm like, I don't know. She was trying to buy something online the night before. I mean, you get 2 hits tomorrow. I said, I'll buy it. So lo and behold, she gets hit the first time up. She cracks the ball, gets the third on the second one, and goes, "Hey, I guess you can hit the button when we get home."
And that was a car, right? No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, it's a hard thing, but
yeah.
Gianna's makeup is a lot like me. She looks a lot like Jen. So if those who know me know my intensity. You either like me, you don't like me. But Gianna's tell like it is. She's gonna get in your face.
Okay.
A lot of her dad.
All right, and then the last thing. Talk right now your status of your football team as you being the offensive coordinator at St. Joe's in Montvale, and you already got a victory over St. Peter's Prep this year, which must have made your day. But how did the Green Knights stack up as you move towards the non-public Group 4? Are you in the 4 or 3?
Whatever we're calling that. Yeah, obviously anytime you get a win against Prep, it's great. I mean, like I told Flaherty, who's counting but 10 out of the last 13.
Right, what's your record? 4-4 or 5-3?
We're 5-3.
5-3. Okay. And will you get a home game in the States?
Hey, listen. Me personally, we're 6-3 after tomorrow. We should be the 2 and 3 seed.
Okay.
I don't want to hear about St. Augustine's and they're 8-1, playing against nobody in South Jersey tour. Like our league is the best league in New Jersey.
By far.
If you're not going to seed and reward teams from our conference in the first couple of seeds, then don't have a seeding meeting. Just do it by conference. You're embarrassing yourself. It's the old Gordon Conference.
Yeah. Okay.
So we're having a great run. The kids are playing hard. We're not a vintage St. Joe's team, but we're a vintage St. Joe's team on lunch pail.
Yep. Who is vintage of the 4 major schools? Who is vintage? The answer is none of them. I mean, even Bergen's undefeated, but they're not a vintage Bergen team either.
So there's a lot of talent all over the place.
Right.
So it makes it fun. I think the playoffs are going to be interesting, and we're getting that one and done theory. Every little, like tell kids, game management, every little situation helps.
It's going to be very interesting to see when you guys sit down someday to decide who's going to be. Well, we all know who the 1 is going to be, but after that, it's a crapshoot.
I don't know, man. I tell you what, I got this weird feeling this week. I'm feeling Prep this week. I think Prep could upset Hudson Catholic this week.
Wow.
I think they got dudes, and Bergen's going through now the little gauntlet of games, and Prep's coming off of a couple week bye week,
and then the easy game against St. Joe's. Yeah, okay. Well, we'll have to see. Yeah.
I think it's gonna be a good one. I think it's gonna be a good one. And tonight against the Ball and Seton Hall Prep. I mean, Billy Fitzgerald, another Hudson Catholic dude, just phenomenal coach.
Yep. Absolutely. Phenomenal job.
And a great guy.
I agree there too. Yeah.
I'm hoping that God doesn't make it rain tonight because I really want to go out and see the Seton Hall Prep, but I don't like sitting in the rain tonight.
Yeah, no, it's not worth getting sick. And you got who tomorrow?
We're going up to Del Mar.
Oh, you're going up to the what? You're going up to the Abbey tomorrow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Believe it or not, Jim, I got to run and get a haircut.
You don't have any hair.
Yeah, well, every couple of weeks I go get a little bit of it cleaned up.
All right.
It's just not nice the way it looks, but this was a pleasure.
Absolutely, Rob. Thank you very, very much for being my special guest. And again, Rob Stern, who's had a long history of coaching all over the state, but he's had a good run, both at Hudson Catholic and at St. Peter's College, and he's been a friend of mine for a long time, and I'm glad I got a chance to spend a good hour and a half with Rob. So,
and make sure all the people out there go see Stan Sporting Center, because Danny Jr. and Danny are great guys, and I'd be sold to say my man Lou down in Hoboken, my coach's kid for a long time, was our kicker and linebacker at Hudson Catholic.
Oh, that's true. Okay, yeah. Louis the man. So, all right. Well, thanks for spending some time with me, Rob. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Jimmy.
All right. Talk to you soon. I'll see you soon. Thanks. And that was my special guest, Rob Stern, the offensive coordinator at St. Joe's in Montvale, but he's also a respected softball coach. He's at Mount St. Dominic, and he was also the head coach at both Hudson Catholic twice and at St. Peter's College. Thank you very much for listening to this week's Hudson County Sports Podcast. I'd like to thank my executive producer, Johnny Haig, who helped me again this week with a new piece of equipment that hopefully this makes it a little bit easier to listen to in the future. And I'll have another, and thanks to my special sponsor, Stan Sports Center, for being here all throughout everything, and I appreciate them tremendously for being the sponsor for as long as they have. Until next time, my name is Jim Haig, and thank you very much for listening to the Hudson County Sports Podcast. Have a great day.